So today I'm doing a tutorial on drawing fur. This is part 1 out of 2. I am using Crayola pencils so that this can be done with any supplies, whether you have pricey Prismacolors or just some student grade art supplies. These pencils are part of the Colors of the World set, which has one of my favorite color selections of any set. All you really need is a few shades of brown or whatever color fur you're drawing. I also have a black pencil, a blue, and a gray, and a purple and a green tone just in case. These colors are great for shadows and for toning other colors. Here I have this paper with 5 poorly traced circles for different fur types. I have short, long, coarse, smooth, and wet fur, which is by far the most difficult and one I don't draw very often. I'm going to start with short hair, which is usually the easiest to draw. The first thing you want to do when drawing realistically is find a reference photo. My reference photo is horse fur. For this I'm using a black pencil and a dark brown for my dark tones. Then I have this cream color and I have 2 midtones. All you really need is a dark tone, a light tone, and a midtone, but more variations make it a lot easier. And then for the real trick I have a needle. You can use a mechanical pencil without the lead or even a dried out pen. I use this to scratch the paper, which will leave thin white lines after you draw over them. Get a light to make it easier to see, and you don't need to press very hard. Just make sure that your lines are short and slightly curved to make them look natural. They can overlap, but try not to do too many lines. Try not to follow any sort of pattern. The point is for it to look natural, which is usually a little bit messy. After the boring part of drawing almost invisible lines, I take my darkest tone and draw some lines in the same direction. Just make sure you follow the direction of the fur. Make sure to leave a good amount of space between each of these lines. And then I go back in with my other dark tone and kind of follow the darkest lines while adding a few more. I always do this lightly at first. After that, it's onto the midtones. Just remember to leave some lighter spaces. Hair kind of grows in clumps. And after I'm done with the midtones, then I go over some of my lighter areas with the lightest tone. And after that, you get to repeat the whole process as you add more layers. Usually I have about 3 layers. I also usually redefine the dark areas several times as I start to burnish with the midtones. And you just repeat the process until you've filled in the whole area. It does get easier as you go, as you start to see the pattern, and you don't have to look at the reference as much. It probably won't look exactly like the reference, but you just want to give it a fairly similar texture. So that's the short hair. You can see the white lines left by the needle. And next I'm going to do long hair, which is a little bit more complicated. The reference photo is a long-haired cat's fur. I'm going to use the same colors, and once again I'm going to start with scratching the paper. Longer hair usually grows in bigger clumps, so I'm kind of grouping the lines together, though it's really hard to see on camera, and in person too. I usually have my face way too close to the paper for this, but the camera's there now. These lines are longer, of course, and a bit messier, but I'm doing significantly less of them. The next step is mapping out the clumps of hair with the darkest color. It's a little bit random. I'm just following the general shape and pattern of the fur. The object it's wrapping around is curved and the fur sticks out more around the edges. All the fur is generally going in the same direction. And then I use my second darkest tone and go around the shadows while adding more lines, just kind of following the direction of the fur. I make sure to leave highlights at the top of each fur clump and work through all my colors. And then I go back and add more layers and redefine the dark areas again, just like with the short fur. And once again, you can see the white marks, the scratches left in the paper. That's long hair, which does take a bit more practice than short hair. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, though. So that's part one of drawing fur, and I've done short fur and long fur. Just use whatever materials you have and give it a go. I hope this video was a bit helpful to some of you, and come back for part two where I'll do coarse fur, smooth fur, and wet fur. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them.